I wanted to add 7 figures to any e-commerce brand in 2025, here is exactly what I would do. So this graph demonstrates the whole strategy, that if I wanted to make an extra 1 mil upwards for an e-com brand, and that's for any e-com brand in any niche or vertical, this is exactly what I would do, and I'm gonna explain, walk you through this graph, because it may seem confusing at first, but to be honest, it's quite simple and straightforward. I just need you to understand what does it mean. So this graph demonstrates the path, and I'm gonna be focusing on the, on the retention side or on the email side of your business, because if you implement all of that, it can bring you anywhere between 30, 40, maybe even 50% extra sales every single month. And I know this for a fact because we've worked with dozens of e-com brands and we've helped them generate over like 20 million revenue in the last 2 years. So we know for a fact this works. So here's the path that we like to follow, and we think that is, the best path in terms of the email side for your e-com brand. So this is your store, right? Obviously you have various traffic sources, people come to your store and they're gonna see a pop-up. Usually for the triggers, I don't like to make them immediately, because that first of all disrupts the customer journey, but then secondly, usually it doesn't, it's gonna sacrifice your margins essentially, because usually you're gonna have some kind of offer to have an incentive for those people, and if it pops up immediately with 15% off, you're pretty much giving away your margins just like that. So I don't like to do this. On desktop I like to have it as exit intent only, so whenever someone drags out of the window, it's not gonna be 100% accurate, but it's gonna be somewhat accurate, which is still better than immediate trigger. And on mobile devices I like to play with time delay. Usually scroll is also like, kind of messy, but I like to go with time delay between 10 to 20 seconds is usually a first starting point, I would say, and then test from there. You can also go through a tool like Hotjar and essentially see your customers' behavior, how they're interacting with the website, and what would be the ideal moment to show the pop-up. So this is the first thing that essentially creates all of that you can see below. Then when people opt in, they are going to your email list. Usually the opt-in for the pop-up, I mean, it should be at least like 5 to 6%. We've seen cases for majority of the brands where we took on, they were doing 2 to 3%, but ultimately we've run a bunch of tests and right now they're sitting at 10% or 9%. So I would say aim for at least 5% opt-in rate, which is still better than, 0 if you wouldn't have the pop-up, but you can easily plan your A/B tests and try to get it to 10%. If you don't know how to do it, I have another video showing you how to create pop-ups, which is like essentially like a pop-up masterclass, explains everything we're doing. But yeah, make sure your pop-up is converting at least at 5%. That means that all of your traffic, 5% of that is gonna go into your email list, and this is where the magic happens. So assuming your deliverability is fine, which once again it should be, you should be getting at least 40% open rates across all of that, across all of the flows and campaigns. If you don't know if your deliverability is good or if you want to improve it, I have a video on that too, so make sure you watch it. It explains once again everything you need to know about deliverability for emails, for e-com brands. But essentially, assuming that your deliverability is on point, there are 2 ways that you can monetize your email list, which is gonna be flows, also called automations or automated sequences, or campaigns. Let's maybe start with flows because they're a little bit more complex, even though they're not that complex. It just, it just seems like there's a lot of emails, which there is. I believe in total it's gonna be like, over 30 emails easily, maybe even around 40. But yeah, whenever someone opts in, they're gonna, you're gonna have flows which are usually based on a specific trigger. That means whenever someone takes an action, this is when they're gonna fire this trigger. Usually this action leads to them triggering the flow. So for example, when someone joins your email list, they're gonna trigger the welcome flow, where the trigger is gonna be subscribed to your email list, okay? It's as simple as that. And after they do this, after they opt into your welcome flow, they're gonna get a set of 5 emails, right? Every single email should be thought through. You should have a strategy for all of them. You shouldn't send all of them immediately, right? You should have like at least 1 day delay between each. Ideally, you can try having longer delays so that, the customer journey in itself is a little bit longer. But yeah, 5 emails is the bare minimum. And all of those emails should essentially walk people through your brand, your product, their problem, how you can help them, and also you should present them some kind of an offer that usually you are just promising within your pop-up right here, right? So this is going to be the welcome flow. Make sure that you have filtered that whenever someone purchases from any of those emails, they're not getting any further emails. So if they bought from email number 3, they shouldn't be getting emails number 4 and 5, okay? And then after, they're already on your email list, they go through the welcome flow. Simultaneously, they can receive abandonment emails, also called pre-purchase flows, right? So the first one is gonna be abandoned cart, then we're gonna have abandoned checkout, browse abandonment, and site abandonment. All of those flows, as the name suggests, are based on the abandonment. So site abandonment is when someone was on the homepage but didn't view the product. Browse abandonment is when someone was viewing the product but didn't add it to cart. Abandoned cart is when someone added the product to cart but didn't start the checkout. And abandoned checkout is when someone started the checkout but didn't proceed to purchase. By having all of that, you're making sure that whenever someone churns at any given point or stage in your funnel, you're not gonna miss out on all of this revenue. And of course, we have a set of emails, and those three flows, which is abandoned, checkout, cart, and browse. We have 5 emails in each. That's mainly because the buying intent of those people is a little bit higher than for site abandonment. For site abandonment, we usually have this flow only for non-buyers, because if someone already bought from you, they don't need any help in choosing best sellers and whatnot, because they're familiar with them. That's why the site abandonment is a little bit lower intent flow, but we still have 1 email to make sure that we're targeting them. But all of those emails are pretty high intent. That's why we have 5 emails, and all of them are trying to convert those people into buyers. The important thing is that they are not overlapping each other. So if someone added product to cart, they won't be getting any of the flows from the previous stages. So they won't be getting site abandonment flow or browse abandonment flow. They will be getting only abandoned cart flow. This is very important because if they overlap, they're gonna start getting too many emails, especially if you count in the welcome flow, which is still sent just once in general to each customer, I mean. But yeah, with the flow, they're repetitive, so make sure they're not overlapping, because that's how you should have them set up. Now, by having all of this, you're gonna reconvert so many people that you don't even realize. But with only those 2 flows, for abandoned cart and checkout, you can probably recover like 10, maybe even 20% of your whole abandoned checkout, right? And from what we've seen, usually the drop-off rate from each of these stages is around 50%. Once again, it's like an average, but still, if someone was on the product page, then only half of those people are gonna add it to cart, and half of those people who added to cart are gonna go to the checkout. That's why you must have all of those pre-purchase flows in place to make sure that you convert as many people as possible. Now we also have 1 more pre-purchase flow, which is based off of a segment. This is not based off any event or action they've taken. This is based on the segment that we're creating, which the segment in itself is based on the store activity or email activity. Usually it's for people who are very engaged with the store, who are opening your emails, clicking them, viewing products, but they have never purchased from you. This usually indicates their high buying intent. That's why you need to have this flow, just to make sure that if they are on the fence, you kind of push them through to make sure they convert, because this segment that you're creating for this flow indicates that they are very interested in buying from you. So you need to make sure that you have this flow in place and convert those people. But now your job is not done. These were only pre-purchase flows, and now it's time for post-purchase flows. This is where most of your money will be made, I mean most of the profit, because if someone already bought from you, you have already acquired this customer, you have paid to get them through the door and buy from you. So right now, any purchase you make through these flows is gonna be extremely profitable, because essentially you're not paying anything, right? The only cost would technically be your email team or agency or employees if you have like internal team. Software cost, usually it's gonna be Klaviyo bill, and then it's gonna be the offer if you're giving them any kind of offer, which I suggest you do at some point, not like to kick off the flows, but at some point. And that's gonna be your only costs, where if you have like 10k email list, the whole cost is gonna be split into like 10k people and not only one person. So it's gonna be extremely profitable purchases. The post-purchase flow is mainly after the purchase. You should be educating people on how to use the product, make good first impression, and make sure that they are building a relationship with them and making them loyal fans of your brand, because that in itself will always put you in the customer's top of the mind. So whenever they need your product or a product from your category, they're gonna remember about you and they're gonna like you, which is very important in itself. And sometimes this flow alone can help you make a ton of sales. Maybe not directly, you might not be seeing a lot of attributed sales right away, but the truth is that if you educate people about your brand, about your product, your process, they're gonna like you for that, and they're gonna buy from you whenever they need it. Replenishment, this is gonna be applicable only to brands which products can be replenished, like supplements, cosmetics, any kind of this industry. Replenishment is like, hey, if you're running out of the products, you can replenish right now. Usually you should be pushing subscriptions there, showing the benefits of the subscription as well as the savings. Customer win back, this is a little bit after the replenishment, usually between like 30 to 60 days after it, maybe even longer depending on the life cycle of your customers. Once again, free emails trying to get people and prevent from churning, because if they don't buy from you after 3 months, the chances are pretty high that they'll churn. So yeah, I like to have this flow a little bit aggressive. I like to have an offer in emails 2 and 3 to make sure that, we're solving their objections, and if the pricing is still one of their objections, even after using your product, just give them a discount. You're about to lose them or they're about to churn anyways. So technically you're not losing anything, you're just, adding an extra revenue. First purchase anniversary, another great flow. It's not that common, not many brands are using it, but we're always using it and it always works great. Just because the gifting angle is super powerful, and whenever you gift someone a discount, which is quote unquote gift, it works very well, converts a lot of people, and it's gonna do it 1 year after the initial purchase, which is still very nice for boosting your LTV. Now, the last flow is sunset and engage. This one is mainly for the maintenance and cleaning your email list. Just send 1 email. More than that doesn't really make sense, because the open rate on this flow is still gonna be low. So you don't want to be sending too many emails, because that in itself can mess up your deliverability. So all of those flows are gonna help you, and it's like, if you implement all of them correctly, they should be bringing in between 10 to 20% extra revenue every single month. Of course, it will always depend, because attributed revenue is also like a vanity metric, right? Like some brands have subscriptions, so then those subscriptions are being like automatically attributed to Klaviyo, which also like inflates the numbers. But I'm just saying, like, more or less, if you implement all of them correctly, you should see an actual uplift, top line revenue 10 to 20%, right? The other 10 to 20% will and can come from campaigns. You should be sending them at least, in my opinion, 3 to 4 times per week. No matter your list size, you should be sending 3 to 4 campaigns. Ideally, if you feel like, okay, sending probably, 3 campaigns per week to engage segment is too much, then you can split it into 4 segments. One is gonna be buyers, one non-buyers, one is gonna be engaged, and one is gonna be buyers activation. You can target all of those segments once per week, and that in itself should be enough to bring in those sales. You just need to make sure that your emails are actually good, that you're pushing some kind of offers, you're testing a lot of angles for any of those groups, and that the content in itself resonates with non-buyers and buyers. Because, for example, if someone is a buyer, the FAQs campaign might not be that interested to them, because they already know your brand and most common questions. But if someone doesn't know you, then the FAQs campaign performs great, and we know this for a fact, because people just have questions, and FAQs are there for a reason. People just want the answers, so by showing them those answers, they'll perform great. The example of engaged campaign, or the campaign sent to the engaged segment, could be like a Mythbuster or new arrivals or bestsellers feature, which is gonna resonate with both buyers and non-buyers, because both of those groups would fall under the engaged segment. And now, last but not least, is gonna be buyers reactivation. So if somebody bought from you once, which was like, let's say 1 month ago or more than that, then you can reactivate them and push them, for example, subscription, show them new products or complementary products, upsells, cross sells, all of that is gonna work extremely well. So this is honestly the strategy that I would use if I wanted to add 1 mil to an ecom brand in 2025. If you want to get more valuable content like this, make sure to join my email list. It's completely free. There's gonna be the link in the description below. Once again, it's completely free. I'm gonna be sending you weekly strategies and tips and tricks, plus what we're currently testing and what currently works for multiple 7 and 8 figure brands. Make sure you sign up, it's completely free, and after you do it, make sure that you have your deliverability in place, and you can do it by watching my other video, which is gonna be a complete deliverability masterclass.